What's up, everybody? Colby here. Wanted to be fully transparent with how the year's gone because first of all, let me set the scene for you, right? It is a Friday, it's around noon. I am hearing my laundry going right now. Hopefully, it's not getting picked up on the microphone. I've got about 6 or 7 texts from people either wanting to pay me or more likely ask for money, and good vibes in there as well. None of that's complaints, right? It's just kind of setting the scene. And then, yeah, I'm drinking decaf coffee from my local a block away. And none of this is scripted, planned out, but I was recording short form content just a few minutes ago. And the idea came from a conversation I had with a fellow entrepreneur who was very transparent. We had over coffee, very transparent, saying he'd been in business for over 3 years and still hadn't cracked 100K. And I am looking at my profit and loss right now. It's October the 3rd, and we're at $117,534.85 that's been made this year. And my business, while I had the LLC prior, my business officially basically launched live to the public January 1st, right? Which is kind of convenient for numbers' sake and historical relevance and all that kind of stuff. So essentially, from January 1st to October 3rd, 117,000. And that number in so many ways like blows me away, because if I look at all of the items that have led up to this point, it's one of those paradoxical things where I can say first, I look at it and I'm like, man, I should have made more. And then I look at it and I'm like, how in the hell did I make that much? Because while, yes, I have 10 plus years of business experience, but I had never fully gone on my own until August 30 of 2024. And in that first 4 months, from September 1st to end of 2024, I didn't make any money, $0 in the bank account, right? And it wasn't for lack of trying. I went into work every day. I sat behind my laptop every day. I talked to people every day and didn't make any money. And I think that's the purpose of this video, because you can hear what I've made thus far. And while I don't work with someone who is absolutely brand new, you're not going to get from me, hey, here's exactly how to start a business or top 5 ways to earn income passively or any of that sort of stuff. That is, if you're looking for kind of like how do I do that when I'm just starting out? I don't think this is going to be the kind of vibe. But I wanted to share it because something that entrepreneurs said who hadn't cracked 100K yet was, he's so passionate about the realism behind it, not just the success and the Lamborghinis and all that sort of influencer style stuff you see, right? Like, to be perfectly honest, I'm just in love with the game so much that I'm still toting around a backpack that I've had for almost 9 years. None of the zippers work. It is like there are holes in the bottom at any moment. My laptop could fall through. One of the straps is like 3 threads holding onto it. All of my clothes have holes in them. I'm actually wearing my wife's socks right now because all of my socks, which I haven't bought for over a year, absolutely full of holes, right? I've got maybe like 1 pair of socks that, while thinning, doesn't have like a full-on hole in it. And I think that's valuable for you to know, because you can make this, and maybe you've made more than that, but you work in a team and your expenses are high. I mean, my expenses are incredibly low. I mismanaged at the beginning because I got really excited. Like, the camera I'm recording on right now, got really excited, bought that. I was like, I'm gonna be doing this for a really, really long time. So I've basically made like 50K in the first 3 months, right? So I've kind of slowed down, and there's a story to that. And if I have time, I'll share it. But in that first 3 months, I was just like, everything's available, because I knew I was going to do this for a long time. Like I said, I love the game, and loving the game is like, how do I make myself perform at the highest level doing it? And so having good presentation, right? Like, when you buy a camera and you're going to record, it's not just the camera, it's lights, it's it's microphones, it's a bunch of time and hours invested in setting it up properly and learning what is worth recording and all that kind of stuff. And so there's this time expense, there's ignorance tax, there's all these things. And so I think what's just really important for you to understand via my lens, which is the only one I can truly speak authoritatively on, is that you hear that number, but you don't know the level of risk involved. You don't know the level of sacrifice involved. And I want to be one of the few people, if I sound like worth listening to you, I want to be blatantly clear on what this actually looks like, because cash is not the savior. I think one of the main lessons for me was my relationship with money. So one of the big things that have helped me break six figures in my first year, my first 7 months of business, where I actually had an offer, right? If you count those first 4 months, the first 11 months. But I basically just counted as January 1st because that was when I knew what I was going to do. But in 2025, it's been putting myself in rooms where I can learn. And for so many years, because I just cared, like it's impossible for me to not care. I used to say all the time when I managed an agency and we'd have a client roster of 60, and not all those clients were perfect fits. They were all lovely people, but they weren't perfect fits, which means natural friction and that kind of stuff. And I would say to my staff and my partners and all that, I'd be like, it annoys me how much I care. Because even if I knew they weren't a perfect fit, and obviously you learn as you go, and I got way better at repelling people who were not going to be good fits, and I got way better at managing time and all that kind of stuff. But you just go through the reps and you struggle through it. But even if they were completely, low pay or high maintenance, not perfect fit, I was there and I cared. And it was one of those classic, like, wow, this is causing me to feel like I'm not progressing, but my ethics are too high to not deliver. Of course, caveated with always trying to set the proper expectation, always trying to get them back to realignment, always trying to, make both of our lives better. But one of the things from all of those reps, which first of all, I think the only way I was able to make six figures in my first year is because it's from a whole bunch of reps that, you no longer see, from a whole bunch of failures I made in the past, from a whole bunch of just banging my head against the wall, burning out a couple times to the point where I thought I was going to die, failure after failure after failure. It was all of that. And then you reap the rewards way after. There's this latency from when you do the thing to when you actually see the reward for it. But you can't speed that up. And so speeding it up was putting myself in rooms with mentors. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't do enough. I haven't done enough this year in terms of being a good student, because I was always like a leader where I came from. The one doing all the things, I said yes too much, which you probably are as well, but like doing all the things and managing all the clients when I could have delegated earlier. If we were gonna hire somebody, I needed start to finish. I needed to do, not only am I gonna manage that person on the back end, but I'm gonna do all of the like road mapping. I'm gonna do all of the search and find. I'm gonna do all of the descriptions and the onboarding and, talking to their family members to make sure it's a good fit for them. Like I was doing everything. I'm a natural leader, and that can be, I won't go so far as to call it a flaw, but it can be detrimental to progress. Because if you do that for long enough, when you put someone with that personality like I've had into a place where I should absolutely shut my mouth, be a student, and just follow the steps, I struggled with that. I would say I still kind of struggle with that. I'm very aware of it, but you don't just like, that's one of those things where even if you decide I'm gonna be a student now, you're still gonna fall into like bad habits. But it's something I'm really, really working on. So that's kind of the first thing. It's just, if you feel like you're stuck in a certain spot, again, the numbers are kind of immaterial. If it's less than 100K, if it's over 100K, whatever, there is a way to speed up. And one of my good friends always says everything so perfectly. What takes me, 30 words to say, he can say in 6. And he put it this way. He's like, you can either pay in money or time. And up until 2023, 2024, 2023-ish. I kind of started investing in coaching in 2023, got a lot more involved in 2024, and 2025 has been the most I've ever invested in coaching. I'm not even sure if I want to reveal that number just yet, because it's pretty fresh. But you either pay in money or time. So prior to 2023, I was paying in time. Alex Hormozy calls it the ignorance tax. There's just no true calculation on operating with the knowledge you have versus the knowledge you could have. And I learned so much in 2023 and beyond. If I would not have, I want to be clear, I didn't stumble into 100K. It was over a decade of, quite frankly, just because I have a lot of self-trust and a lot of self-awareness and a lot of confidence, right? This is not a beat up statement. I'm just looking at it objectively. For 10 years, I was behaving like an idiot. For 10 years, I was more focused on the appearance of knowing what the hell I was doing. And yeah, I did it well. The people I served, I was recognized globally for retaining clients. I was good at what I did. I was considered top 5% in client retention globally in my space. Could have been top 0.5% if I would have stopped trying to appear successful, to trying to maintain what I had. So you pay in money or time. You can always speed up your progression, but you gotta take the pinch of financial stress. Long story short, if it feels like an easy decision, it's not the decision for you. It should feel scary as fuck. You should be so scared. And I am absolutely in that moment right now. And for instance, if you've watched any of my stuff, you probably have heard me say, oh, my camera's overheating. I bought a used camera, right? If I would have spent just a little bit more, if I would have taken a little bit more pain, I would have gotten a brand new camera. And I love this camera. It's just, it came where the cooling fan malfunctions. And so about 30 minutes into any video, and I was recording short form content before it, so in this case, 15 minutes in, it starts sending me the blinking I'm gonna explode. So that'll be something. It's another example. It's I'm not ready yet to pay for the cooling fan. Buying clothes doesn't make me money. Having a faster car doesn't make me money. Eating out doesn't make me money. Having a perfectly working camera when, this one's sufficient so long as I get more concise, which is a challenge in itself. You pay in time or money. To avoid total details and all that sort of stuff, I can just tell you that number of 117K in my first 8 months of the business is based on one word, 2 words: risk and trust. At the beginning of the year, I had no guarantee that anything I was gonna do was gonna work. And when it started working, I didn't know what to do with it. But I've always had the trust that I will figure it out. And so if you're lacking in financial stability, I'm not a financial advisor or a consultant or anything like that. But I think the main question would be, is that based on the risk I've taken or the mismanagement? And you can be both. All I'm trying to do is lower the mismanagement. And honestly, I'm upping the risk. I've just taken another big risk that I'm not ready to reveal to the world as I record this, but it's probably the biggest risk I've made in business thus far. But it's because I have trust that I'm able to make it. So ask yourself the question, is where I'm at because of lack of risk or lack of management, or both? But whatever it is, and maybe you have to sit with it for a few days or a few weeks, but keep asking until you have an answer. And once you find the answer, do the opposite of what you've been doing. Make the move. Life will get better. So I hope this video helps. If you are at all interested in what I do, who I help, any of that sort of stuff, you can check out this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.